Twice baked potatoes are one of my favorite side dishes to make at Christmas time. It's one of those things that when I grew up, we would eat twice baked potatoes a lot from the store, and you would bake them and they'd get nice and crusty on top. It was just delicious. And so when I got older and began to cook, this was something that we sort of started to make from scratch. So I'm gonna show you how we do it today. Right now I've got the potatoes baking in the oven, a few russet potatoes. I just washed them, gave them a quick rinse, dried them off really well, poked a bunch of holes in them with a fork all around the potatoes, coated them lightly in olive oil and seasoned them with salt. Threw them in a 400-degree oven, and they are just in there roasting, and they'll be in there for about an hour. So while those are going, we can talk about the rest of the ingredients. We're basically doing the mashed potatoes I taught you last month. I'll leave a link somewhere either up above or in the description. You can go ahead and make that exact recipe once you take all of the filling out of the baked potatoes, but it's just a little bit of a different recipe. It's another way to kind of make mashed potatoes. We're adding cheese, gonna use some chives, some heavy cream, and some butter and olive oil. And then we're just gonna put it into like a piping bag and then pipe them back into the potato skins, throw them in the oven, and there you have it. It's another thing that you can make ahead, throw them in the refrigerator, so when I'm ready to bake, just pop them in the oven on Christmas Day and get them ready to go. Also, a lot of people kind of asked about the food mill, using the food mill. You don't have to get a food mill. This is a potato ricer. It's the same idea. You're just gonna put stuff in here and push it down. So I'm just gonna use this today just to show you another way of doing it. This is probably a little cheaper, it's smaller to keep, and I guess you could puree tomatoes in this as well. I never kind of thought to do that, but anyway. So I just got my cheddar, I got butter, chives, cream, olive oil, some salt. And so we're gonna wait for this, the potatoes to get done cooking and then start the process. So these guys are roasted. You can take a knife and just puncture them, make sure they're tender, there's no resistance, that's what you want. So we just let them cool for a little bit. What we're just gonna do now is chop up some chives. See that? There's no green stuff on the board. If you're chopping herbs, delicate herbs like chives, and you've got all this green juice left on the board, that's a pretty good indicator that your knife is dull and that you're destroying the beauty of all of these ingredients. So when you chop herbs like this, you don't want any sort of residue on the bottom of the board. It means your knife is nice and sharp and you're cutting through these without damaging the greens too much. About a 1/4 cup of chopped chives should be enough, but you can add more if you like. I've got my cheddar here. I'm probably gonna use half of it. There's probably 8 ounces of cheese here. I'm gonna use about 4 of it, or maybe a little bit more, to mix in with the mashed potatoes, and then reserve about half of it to sprinkle on top of the mashed potatoes. So I have this, and I'm just gonna keep that off to the side. I've got some butter. I'm just gonna dice it up so it's easier to melt. Kerrygold's one of my favorites to use. You could cut these right down the middle in half and turn this into 2 portions if you want. That's one way to do it. I'm gonna just give everybody 1 potato because I generally measure how many potatoes I'm gonna serve at something like this by 1 potato per person. These are a little bit big. You can kind of shop for them by size and make sure that they're kind of uniform in shape. They have the nice shape that you can kind of cut the top off, and it's just gonna look nice as a twice baked potato. And then you can also look for smaller ones and try to make these in like a smaller version. That will work. But if I'm gonna use 1 per person, then I'm just gonna slice off the tiniest amount off the top. So now I just wanna scoop all of this out from the tops and in here, all of it into the bowl. But first what I'm gonna do is put the butter in, some of the cream. I'm aiming for about a 1/2 cup of cream, but again, I have extra just in case I need more. You just scoop into your ricer. Clean it out real nice. And then reserve the empty potato skin that you're eventually gonna fill up. I'm gonna add a pinch of salt, some olive oil, chives, reserving a little bit for garnish, and then cheddar. And once those chives hit the hot potatoes, you already get that sour cream and onion scent going, which is really nice. So if it looks a little lumpy to you, it is because the cheese isn't fully melted. It's okay, it's not lumpy potatoes, it's just kind of gonna melt as soon as we get them in here and bake them. But now all we want to do is get this into a piping bag and fill up the potato shells. Now you can use one of these, or you can just use a gallon Ziploc bag, fill it up, get it kind of pushed all the way down to one corner, and then snip off the end and just pipe it in like that. But I wanted to kind of go for this nice presentation with the fluted tip. So I have a little piping bag here. What you can do is just sort of spoon it in most of the way. At this point, you could either cover them, you could keep that stuff in a piping bag, wrap them when you did that kind of initial fill, and then when you go to put them into the oven the next day, then you can kind of pipe them, make them look all nice before you put them in the oven. We're gonna get these in the oven. They're ovened at 425. If you're pulling them out of the refrigerator to heat them up on the day of, bake them at a lower temperature, like 400 degrees, just because they're gonna take longer to reheat. But since these are hot, I'm gonna do them at a higher temperature and try to get that brown top. You could also freeze these. So if you throw them in the freezer, then you've got your own homemade twice baked potatoes whenever you want. You don't have to go to the store and buy none of that stuff. So this is just going in the oven, 425 degrees, 15 minutes, until the top looks nice. And remember, always clean as you go. A, B, C. Always be cleaning, especially during the holidays. Somebody's got to do dishes, and even if it's not you, you want to help that person out. Just wash the stuff off, both bottom and top of plates. I know some of you only wash the top of the plates. What are you thinking? Obviously the bottom of the plate is dirty too once it's been put into the sink. Don't be lazy. Learn how to wash a dish. I was a professional dishwasher. It's my first career, so there's something to be said about washing a dish properly. Just do it right. There's nothing in the sink. Potatoes are in the oven. I'm feeling good. And that's how you want to feel when you're preparing for the holidays. Create this bed for the potatoes to sit on, and you got this nice rosemary scent that kind of perfumes the plate. So it's a childhood favorite, made from scratch as an adult, that would literally make anyone happy. As you can see, my fancy fluted top didn't really work. Everything melted and sort of made it a lot looser. You can avoid that by putting the mashed potatoes together on a pot with a little bit of heat, making sure that the butter's all melted, the cheese actually melts, and it'll give you a better idea of what the actual consistency of the mashed potatoes are going to be after baking. And then if you get the consistency right and you put a nice flute, it should be a little bit firmer. It should probably be a little bit firmer than this. That's not holding well. Oh no, it doesn't matter. It's just creamier, but that's okay. It's still delicious, and I'd be happy to serve these. Sort of just base it off of how you like it, how creamy you like your mashed potatoes, how firm. Just make them per your specs, and you should love this one. Hope you make it. Let me know if you do down in the comments. Next episode, we're gonna do some roasted Brussels sprouts, one of my specialties. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks to all my patrons. You guys want to be a part of this group of people who are helping to fund the show, and in return are actually have become producers of the show, get their names running down the end credit scene of my videos, then click the link in the description and it'll also pop up right around here. And go to my Patreon page and check out the deal. Really does make a difference. Everyone who's been a part of it has gone a long way in helping this show succeed and helping me out in funding it, because I pay for it out of pocket and some of this stuff gets expensive. Anyway, that's all I've got today. See you next time. Take care of yourself and go feed yourself.